A major blow for Democrats in the battle for control of Congress after the Virginia Supreme Court on Friday struck down the state's voter-approved congressional map, potentially erasing Democratic hopes of gaining 4 House seats and handing Republicans some new momentum in the redistricting war ahead of the midterms. Democrats, though, are vowing to fight back.
We're going to need nationwide judicial reform. We're going to need nationwide electoral reform. We're going to need nationwide campaign finance reform, which is why we have to take the House back, take the Senate back, keep pressing forward, and then in 2028, take the presidency back as well.
Joining me now is Virginia Congressman Suhas Subramaniam. He serves on the Oversight, Science and Ethics Committees. And welcome back to the show, sir. So we have House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries there, saying that Democrats are, quote, exploring all options to overturn this shocking decision, no matter what it takes. What is your response to this setback, and how will the party fight back against Republicans' really nationwide aggressive redistricting push?
Let's remember what just happened. We had millions of Virginians come out and vote and approve of this referendum to do mid-decade redistricting. In these red states across the South, they are not asking voters, and they are interrupting elections during early voting to do what they're trying to do. And so we gave it to the people. We said to the people, what do you want to do? And they told us they wanted mid-decade redistricting. That's a problem that the judiciary, an activist judiciary, decides in a 4-3 decision that they know better than not just 2 general assemblies in Virginia, but the people of Virginia as well. And so we have to understand now what's next and the task at hand. We cannot sit back and be victims of this. We have to push forward this November. If other states can do it, they should do it, other blue states. And then we should look at 2028 and see what we can do ahead of that election too, because Republicans are moving forward with their plans. They're taking out majority districts. They're taking out the voices of millions of Americans across the country. So we must respond at this point.
Are you surprised that a court would overturn the will of the people?
I am shocked. I am absolutely dismayed that these 4 justices of the Supreme Court, a Supreme Court that historically has not wanted to wade into politics and has deferred to voters, decided that they wanted to stretch their logic to come to this conclusion that we should not do this. It's very clear from the decision that these justices simply didn't want to do mid-decade redistricting, and so they found a reason. And if it wasn't this reason, it would have been another reason. And so that's a big problem. One of those justices, the one who wrote the decision, is retiring next year, and good riddance. And I think moving forward, we have to really look at what Republicans are doing to the judiciary at the state and federal level, including the Supreme Court, and Democrats need to respond.
So, as you know, the FBI has searched the office and business of Democratic Virginia State Senator Louise Lucas, did that on Wednesday. Officials have so far not named the target of that probe or what it was investigating. Lucas led the effort to redraw the state's congressional maps and alleges the raid was an attempt by the Trump administration to intimidate and silence her. What's your response to all this?
When you look at, so they've weaponized the judiciary to overturn the will of the people. They're weaponizing law enforcement to go after Democrats. It was Donald Trump's stated desire to go after Democrats across the country. And I serve on the Oversight Committee, where we've seen historic corruptions, one of the most corrupt administrations in history. And we've seen them look at Democratic corruption instead and turn a blind eye to the corruption happening all across the Trump administration. So this was clearly targeted. Lucas was one of the leaders of this redistricting plan, and so it's not surprising that they would go after her personally. And we're seeing them go after other local Democratic officials across the country, and it's only going to continue unless there's real oversight in Congress and real reforms happening that can put and some sort of check on this administration.
Let's pivot, sir, to that newly unsealed note purportedly written by Jeffrey Epstein, which was released by a judge this week. And it reveals defiant language written weeks before his suicide inside a Manhattan federal jail. MS Now has not authenticated the note, but does its release speak to the fact that there are still unknowns about this case? Could it potentially reignite conspiracy theories surrounding Epstein's death and become just yet another distraction?
What's concerning is that the Epstein case and every facet around it was never truly investigated. And this was across multiple administrations. And so even his death in prison, his suicide, never really got the attention that it truly needed and deserved. And again, we had it happened under President Trump's first term. And, this is President Trump who was found in the Epstein files and appointed many people who were close to Epstein, including the prosecutor who gave him the sweetheart deal. And so that's why there's a lot of distrust about what comes out. And that's why there's more theories that are coming out. And so that's why the Oversight Committee is vowed to investigate this. Fortunately, Republicans on the Oversight Committee have stopped short of trying to hold the Trump administration accountable. But that's why Democrats are pushing them. And we've got a few Republican allies that are helping us push this forward.
Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, as you know, sat for that closed-door interview before the Oversight Committee Wednesday, where Democrats accused him of dodging questions and being dishonest. Take a listen.
After what we have seen so far in this transcribed interview, I feel very comfortable saying that Howard Lutnick is a pathological liar who is enabling the most egregious cover-up in American history.
Someone obviously got to him from the administration. In fact, he said he talked to people in the administration, and that's why he's changed his tune. It was really embarrassing. It was just contortions and lies and no acknowledgement that he misled the American public.
And we want to remind viewers that Lutnick's testimony was not a deposition, but a transcribed off-camera interview. He was not under oath. Lutnick denies any wrongdoing in connection with Epstein's crimes. But if lawmakers don't believe they got honest answers from him, what recourse is there?
Well, if he lied to us, he should be held in contempt of Congress. That's what everyone else faces when they lie to Congress as well, and he should as well. But he told us that he only sat down in a room with Jeffrey Epstein once, but then he admitted that he sat down in a room with Jeffrey Epstein with his wife later on. And apparently, according to him, sitting down with Jeffrey Epstein with his wife in the room doesn't count as sitting down with Jeffrey Epstein. It makes no sense. And then he had said in the past that he never visited the island. He admitted it now, but he doesn't remember why, apparently. He remembers things from many years earlier, but he doesn't remember why he went to this island and brought his whole family with him. But he admits that Jeffrey Epstein was a gross person. So it makes no sense that you would bring your family to sit with a gross person who you think was committing crimes. The reality is, it stretches the imagination, the truth of the things that he told us. And certainly as we uncover more information and as we demand more of the Epstein files get released, including the ones that implicate people in the Trump administration, we're going to find out the truth one way or another.
Well, Oversight Democrats are holding a hearing Tuesday with Epstein survivors and witnesses in Palm Beach County, where Epstein's crimes came to light more than 2 decades ago. What should we expect, sir, from this hearing?
Well, Melania Trump herself said that she wanted a forum for the survivors to come out and speak. Well, this is one forum, and several have said that they're going to come out and talk about the crimes of Epstein. It's also very important that we have these discussions not just in the halls of Congress, but in the places where some of these crimes happened. So the Oversight Democrats are taking this investigation seriously. We're going to have real hearings. Unfortunately, Oversight Republicans are afraid of taping depositions. They're afraid of having real hearings where you can issue subpoenas. And so they are backing off of this investigation while we are pushing forward and demanding the truth.
This is a pivot to what the Pentagon did Friday, releasing that new tranche of files related to UFOs. It's following the president's vow to be transparent on the issue. You serve on the Committee on Science, Space and Technology, and you signed a letter calling for its release. Did the release reveal anything new to the public?
No, I don't think so. I'm underwhelmed by the release, honestly. Given things that I've heard and things that I've seen, I'd like more to be released. The American people deserve to know what we do have and any sort of evidence of anything we've seen. And so I've learned more from the documentaries, honestly, than I did from this release. So it's sort of like the Epstein files released last year. It's just these transparency releases seem to underwhelm us. And it's just a way of President Trump to say he's following a promise that he made, when reality is it's nowhere close to what he promised.
Okay. Congressman Suhas Subramanian, thank you so much for your time, sir.